Well, Halloween is over, and my selection of guitar games is dwindling, so I think it's finally time to take that temporary break and do something else. If you've been around the channel for a really long time, then you already know how much I love the Tony Hawk's series. I've spent hundreds of hours playing Thug Pro, and once a year I do a full playthrough of the first two games just in my own free time for my enjoyment. I've played pretty much all of them, with a couple of exceptions, and today I'm going to take a look at one of those exceptions. Get ready to push Mongo uphill. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 for the PS3. I know that PS4 and Xbox One ports of this game exist, but if it's really as bad as everyone says, then the port really isn't gonna matter, is it? Like always, let's do some backstory first. THPS 5, developed by Robomoto and Disruptive Games, is a tech fantasy skateboarding game released in 2015 for the Xbox One, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 3. The Xbox 360 and PS3 ports specifically were developed with the help of Fun Labs, who you might recognize from the heyday of PS2 Cabela hunting games. Pro Skater 5 was unfortunately the first entry in the series since 2007 and the last entry until 2020. It filled a 13-year gap like a clog fills a drain pipe. The story around the bad development of the game is really a timeless tale of greed and shovelware. In 2015, the licensing rights for Tony Hawk were set to expire, so Activision, being Activision, decided they wanted a cash grab at the last threads of a long-dead franchise. Pro Skater 5 was developed in only a few months, so while I'm playing it, I'm gonna be keeping that in mind. The amount of content for the amount of development time will be a big factor in deciding whether or not I think this game is complete trash. I know that most people would be like, oh, it was rushed, therefore it's bad, but if the devs obviously wanted to make a better game, then I can't fault them for the executive decisions of Activision. I'm gonna try to be as fair and unbiased about this as possible. What I'm looking for is real effort. I would normally get into the actual game by talking about the story, but this is in tune with older Pro Skater games in that there is no story. Instead, this game will have you moving from map to map in career mode, completing objectives, which is also reminiscent of the older Pro Skater games. 1 point for having the traditional core progression. Since there isn't any story, let's just jump right into the gameplay. Back when this game came out in 2015, I was 15 years old. Being impressionable to other people's opinions usually meant avoiding things that were universally panned as garbage. I heard critics talking about this game, and I saw footage of the most broken parts of it. As a fan of the series, what I saw was enough to make me avoid it like the plague. So you can imagine my surprise when I discovered that this game actually works just fine. The basic fundamental THPS mechanics are all there. You can do flips, grabs, grinds, wall rides, there's no comply and boneless, revert to manual, and it all works. I mean that in the literal sense. It functions. Remember that for later. Anybody who kept up with the Pro Skater series over the years already knows this, but the biggest criticism for this game is just how many things have been cut or changed. The off-board mechanic from Underground Forward is gone. It didn't exist in the Pro Skater specific line of games anyway, so this isn't entirely unreasonable. You can't get off your board in 1+2 either, and it works fine there. A sad exclusion is the rail and manual chain tricks. You can't just double tap a button to change your grind or manual anymore, which sucks. But the balance meters for rail and manual have been given a pretty stark leniency, so not having chain tricks actually makes them both less abusable. Limitation for the sake of balance. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's horrible either. It's ignorable. Double tap tricks make a return in a much more limited way too. Instead of double tapping the flip button or the grab button to do a double of that trick, you have to double tap the direction. That same style of trick execution did exist in the old games, but it existed alongside tapping the action buttons. There was so much more variety in what you could do and how you could do it. That's not to say that there isn't variety here, it's just not as much. Pro Skater 5 doesn't have the same special move system as the old games. Instead, filling up the special meter and then tapping L1 will activate special mode, where every single trick becomes a quickly executable special trick. When I say it like that, it sounds really unbalanced and exploitable, but it's actually fairly restricted. You can only activate your special meter once per combo, and that means you really need to make the most of it when you use it. There's actually a level of strategy to the new special move system, and while I don't like it as much as the traditional system, I don't hate it either. It's interesting. There are enough tricks available to prevent it from ever feeling too boring or restricted. I forgot to mention that lip tricks also make an appearance. It's the same as grind and manual, so there really isn't much to say, and also I don't do lip tricks very often. The goals in Pro Skater 5 take an approach closer to Pro Skater 4. There are a few goals in each level that can be done during free skate, but the majority of them need to be manually started. You can do that by approaching a marker and holding the button, or you can press select and just pick a goal from the menu. This game uses the goal difficulty structure from Project 8 and Proving Ground. Instead of picking a difficulty for the game overall, the goals separate their difficulty with different win conditions for AM, Pro, and Sick. I love this difficulty system. I think it's one of the few things Project 8 actually did right, so it's cool to see it here. Most of the goals are actually just regular Pro Skater stuff. Collect the skate and combo letters, get a 6 score, do the tricks as they're called out, smash a pile of something, do a combo with one mechanic disabled, or do a combo within a specific area, wall ride the bells, collect a lot of items within a time limit. There's a really good variety of goals here. There's so much shit to do that it's actually really impressive. Once you've completed all of the goals for a level, you'll unlock that level's pro goals, which is reminiscent of how Pro Skater 4 handled things. It never feels like it takes too long to complete enough of them to move on. Levels move by at a brisk but enjoyable pace. On my first time through, I managed to unlock all of them within 2 hours, but that doesn't mean I completed all of the goals. I left myself enough to go back because I really wanted to take a good second look at every map. You as the viewer might think I'm crazy, but I really like these maps. The first two are probably the weakest of the bunch. School 3 is an awesome throwback to School 2 with a lot of new additions. Many of them have gimmicks and power-ups like double ollie, speed boost, low gravity, or launch pads. It's really arcadey. No two maps share the same gimmick, which I honestly really appreciate. The biggest problem with each of the maps is the lack of polish. They're all good, but they all feel like they just needed more time. There was real potential for these maps to be amazing, and unfortunately they got held back by the occasional broken collision or nonsensical object placement. And now we've arrived at what is the core problem with Pro Skater 5. It was rushed. It was literally pushed out the door as fast as possible in order to cash in. Considering that, have you seen how fucking impressive Pro Skater 5 actually is? It had almost no budget, the smallest possible development time, a crumbled foundation, and the dev team still managed to put together a full game with almost everything. It's fully playable from beginning to end, and it isn't that difficult to adapt to. The PS3 disc version of this game is a bit less than 3 gigabytes, which is amazing considering there are 7 career maps, 10 pro skaters, an extra skater, a ton of customization items, a lot of deck graphics, the entire soundtrack, which is really good by the by, and the entire custom park creator. The career maps aren't just small boxes with 1 or 2 spots to skate in, they're large, a little complex at times, and many of them have a lot of really good detail. It's so impressive what the teams managed to accomplish in such a short amount of time. Some of the reviews I read compared the maps to poorly made created parks, but to those reviews I have to say, did you even play anything past the barracks? Every single one of these maps is a love letter to another entry in the series in some form or another. The bunker is one of my personal favorites. It's a combination of the warehouse, hangar, Thug 2 training, and some entirely new ideas. Asteroid Belt is so huge and full of detail. This is one of my favorite map designs in the entire series. The last gameplay things I want to talk about are the things that I don't like, unfortunately. First is the manual push system. Holding ollie will automatically push you forward and keep your speed, but now tapping R2 while on the ground will manually give you a push for a tiny bit of extra speed. In Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, this was called aggro kick, and it could be chained into a combo for more speed and points. Here, it's literally just a push to get you going. You can't chain it into a combo and it serves no purpose other than some extra speed control. If it worked like aggro kick, I would like this a hell of a lot more. The next thing I really don't like, and I mean this is objectively the worst part of the game, is the rail slam system. By default, pressing grind will slam you down onto whatever rail to give you a small speed boost. It looks extremely awkward, like you've got a magnet pulling you onto rails. In the options menu, you can set rail slam to double tap grind, but this game registers the occasional ghost input, which means grind slamming will still happen whether you disable it or not. The last bad thing, and this is really just a nitpick, automatic wall rides are stupid. Instead of pressing grind to start a wall ride, it now just automatically happens when you touch any wall. This wouldn't really matter if wall plants didn't take lower priority. You can wall plant at an angle, but most of the time you'll just do a wall ride instead, which sucks. Did you notice something? When I broke it down critically, Pro Skater 5 actually had way more good decisions than bad ones. I said I was looking for real obvious effort from the devs. It's clear that they wanted to make a good game. Earlier I told you to remember specifically, this game functions. It works. I feel like I've been lied to for years about what Pro Skater 5 actually was. I was under the impression that it was a broken and unplayable mess with no redeeming qualities. My expectations were so low. Knowing what I know now, I have an entirely different outlook on it. I think players are too quick to blame the devs and the game itself for the bad decisions of the executives. What we have here is a victim of really bad public perception and really bad executive money grubbing. It's not one of the best Tony Hawk video games ever made, but it's absolutely not the worst either. I've actually had a really good time with it. All of that said, I think I'll give Pro Skater 5 a rating of 6 out of 10. I don't know if there are people out there who like this game or not. I know I like it, and I regret having been so hateful hateful toward it in the past. It's not great, not even close, but I can't fault the people who made it for putting everything they had into it. They deserved more time to make it better. It's so damn tragic. I walked into this fully expecting to hate everything about this game. I wanted to just talk about something that I knew would be bad, but instead I re-educated myself about a part of a series that I really enjoy. Don't buy this game, honestly. Unless you feel like giving money to your local game store because you think they need it, then this game isn't worth anything. It's an unfinished 8-year-old bit of abandonware, so just emulate it if you're curious about it. Pro tip though, don't use RPCN with it because that crashes the game. Thank you, and have a nice day.